Hey, welcome back to Built from Scratch Machine Shop. It's been 24 hours and I have actually figured out what we're going to make for our first project using our little oval punch outs that I have. So if you didn't see the video the other day, these are the parts that we're going to be working with. These are blanks and I've got a few thousand of them and we're going to try to turn them into a product. So I did a bunch of thinking, and really, as far as machining, the only thing we can do with these is pretty much just drill a hole in them. They're about 3/4 of an inch long, an 1/8 inch thick, and a 1/4 inch wide. So looking in the random stocks of material I have from all the leftover projects, I did find a bunch of stainless steel 632 screws, and I got them in a couple of different lengths. And I've got a fair selection of these. So I used to have them shipped in for part of my manufacturing project, and I've got some of these with a slotted head and brass. Some of them are, oh, what is that? Yeah, 3/4 an inch or an inch long. Others are 1/2 inch long. So I'm going to use those in addition to these parts to create kind of a mechanical fidget, if you will. And I think I've got a design. So let me show you where we're at. Hopefully this isn't too awkward for you. So what I've decided to do is I've drilled some holes in both ends of these parts. And I know they're not perfectly even. It depends on if you've got a little bit of a rotation to the part or not, to how they even up or how they sit in our little fixture that we kind of hacked together. But on this one, I believe that's 150 thou on that. Let me check my drill. So our drill is roughly 150 thousandths in here. So if we check the ID of those bores, yeah, it's oversizing. Maybe it's a little bit larger than 150. I think those are oversizing a little bit. Yeah, 155. Okay, so 155 thousandths on that. So we've got some sidewalls on here. They're not, 50 thousandths on this side, 30 thousandths on that side, 50 thousandths on that side, 30 thousandths on that. So this is just going to be a pass-through on that hole. And then on the other side, I drilled a smaller hole. And again, these are kind of all over the place. These are some of the earlier ones as I was dialing it in. And these are a threaded hole. So I'm drilling, I think I'm using 125 thousandths on the drill. Yeah, 125 thousandths, which for a form tap, if we go to our chart, so 125 thousandths is right between 122 and 126 for a 632 thread. Okay, so this is an old tap drill chart that I had from where I used to work. So what we did is 632 is a pretty common hole thread that I put into parts. So that's kind of when I stuck with that, and it's a fairly strong fastener. So what we're going to do is we're going to put these together. I told you they're going to be kind of a fidget. So we're going to basically make chain parts. So we can take them and assemble them. So you have 3 pass-throughs to a threaded, which then will allow us to actually go through. Let's see if I can get that thread to catch. There we go. And make links of a chain. Let me get this other one on here. Some of them may not fit up perfect on this because, again, this was the prototype that we were doing. Yeah, this one's not the same length as the others. So there we go. We've got those in there. And we can go through and you can loosen them so that they move. Right? So you have a flexible chain, or if you want to tighten them up, come in with an Allen wrench. Tighten it, and then it's rigid. I can tighten this one too. There you go. Then we have a rigid piece. I thought that would be kind of a neat fidget. There's some other things that I found. I do have some other parts that were from when I was doing the old clamps. With these, I figured you could use those as, I might try to shape them a little bit or something to look like a snake head. Maybe we'll make a snake head out of that. But that's what I think is going to be our part. I think it's going to be these little chain links. So I'm going to go ahead and loosen all those up. Little flexible chain links that you can just tighten and put into a shape. I think that's going to be a good first project. So let me introduce you to a couple of pieces of the machinery that we're going to be using today. And I probably should go pretty basic, just because some of you may be seeing, this is going to be a real basic machine shop introduction, because it's going to take us a while to get some good complex machines. So one of the things that we're going to use today is a tap drill chart. This is a chart that I had from when I worked in the factory. It tells me what drill size I should be using. In this case, we're going to be using a 125 to do a 632 thread. Basically, it's an 1/8 inch drill. The minor of that thread should be 122, major should be 126. So anyway, this is going to be a chart that we're going to use for that. So to put the threads in, we're going to be using this machine here. This is called a bench tapper. One of the things that's really nice and neat about that is that a bench tapper, if you push on it, it goes in one direction. If you pull on it, it spins in the opposite direction. So push, threads in, pull, it unthreads. So this is going to be how we're going to do both the deburring of our holes and the threading will be done on this, the bench tapper. This is a machine I picked up surplus. This is like a $2,000 machine. I think they're like $1,600, but it's just basically a set of plates, and as you're pulling or pushing, it turns the spindle clockwise or counterclockwise, depending on if you're pulling or pushing. It used to have a plate. Mine never had the plate. Maybe I'll find one someday. But I'm going to just use some hand fixtures to do the threading here, and hopefully I don't mangle myself too much on it. So this will be one of our major tools. The other tool we're going to be using, and I told you, this is garage quality. So there is a standard Harbor Freight drill press. This is the jig that we're going to be doing our work with. It's interesting. So what this is, this is a 1/4 inch slot in here. And believe it or not, that is a piece for a flat screen TV mounting bracket. A long time ago, I had a flat screen, kind of small flat screen TV, and I bought this mounting system for it, and it has this perfect slot. So they're using kind of an oval punch to do those, which remarkably fits this bracket perfectly. So we're going to use that. We've got one here for our drilling, and then we're going to use this other one as we hold the pieces in the bench tapper. So it'll allow me to hold those in there and not have this little tiny 3/4 of an inch chunk of metal twisted out of my fingers and injure me. So told you this is going to be building it basically from scratch. So this is our drill. 150 thousandths in here. So this is for our pass-throughs. Today for our lubrication, we are going to be using an acid brush or a chip brush. That's what we'll use to lubricate our pieces as we use those. The oil that we're using today is going to be a little bit different. So this is actually canola oil. One of the hazards of being in manufacturing is I actually developed a petroleum allergy, so I can't actually use regular cutting fluids without wearing gloves. And I am super close to this drill when I'm doing this. These are really kind of a hard part to manufacture. I haven't developed a jig yet for it, but we'll be using canola oil, so I don't have to wear gloves. So as we're working, these pieces are going to load in. So I'm going to load those in there, push them up against the datum. So whatever end you're locating it on or stopping it against is datum. We're going to just use a standard pencil to hold that piece down. And then we're going to drill our hole. So we'll lubricate it, locate it, drill our hole, and then we'll use the pencil or some of the other tools to get it out of the way, and then we'll flip it around. We'll probably do a few of them before we flip it around, and then exchange this to our form tap size drill. So that'll take a little bit to do those. So let's go ahead and do a couple of those. See how that goes. Of course, we've got that in. We'll add a little bit of lubrication here. Hold that down with our pencil. Okay, get that off. The other thing I've discovered is these are incredibly hot. Aluminum is a great conductor of heat, and when I drill that, I was holding them with my finger. Yes, I know, really super close. But when I was doing that, they were heating up super quick, uncomfortably hot. So we're going to use tools to move these around. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Hello, aluminum chips, my old friend. My wife is not going to be happy to see you again. I had to rip the carpet out in our old house because of aluminum chips getting into the carpet. Put hardwood floor in. So she's not going to be pleased that we're doing this again. All right, let's do a couple more of these. I'm going to have to find a way to speed this process up. Not very consistent. Well, we don't have a precision tool, so this is what we get. No precision tool, no precision machining. I think we're going to want another backing other than wood. Probably going to switch this out for aluminum. I just didn't want to do it quite yet because I didn't want to change my setup. Still really hot. Okay, we're going to go ahead and deburr these. So I've got a few of these. Turn that on. These are small enough I should be able to just handle them. Just put a hand on the back side. And I've deburred parts this size before. So I'm just giving a little tiny push. And this is a spot drill. I found that for really small parts, works great for deburring these holes. It won't come all the way through to where my finger is, so don't worry. I'm not going to drill my finger. I'm going to just go through. There we go. Nice deburred holes. And there is a couple of our finished parts. So these will all get washed eventually. other thing that's nice about canola oil is dishwashing liquid. Okay, so we'll go ahead and put these down. Okay, what we need to do now is we need to change out to our other drill. So we got to put a I got to put a 125 thousandths drill in there. Okay, 125 thousandths drill is in there, so we're going to go ahead and load our new parts. And these are going to hold them down the same way. Not real happy with that one. Yeah, this will have to be worked with. Okay, so we're going to put a form tap in here. So we'll take that spot drill out. Okay. Bring our canola oil back over. You always lubricate your tap before you use it. Sometimes you can get two before you have to. Sometimes you can get two uses before you have to lubricate it again. Okay, let's see how this goes. I'm seconds from disaster. Okay. Load it in. Perfect. Oh, I probably don't even have to flip it over. There you go. Lubricate my tap. Pop my pieces into my fixture. Shift my finger over. No, maybe I'll flip them. There we go. There we go. That inserted our threads in there. That's perfect. Now if I want, I can go through and I can put that spot drill back in. I'll probably do that. I'll probably deburr all my holes first, so take the little flashing off of that first prior to the tapping of this. So I'll do that all in one process. It'll speed things up as I'm going. I do need to figure out a better fixture, something a little bit more consistent, keep the parts from rocking for our other operation. But you can deburr holes after you're done. All right, so there is our extra pieces. We'll go ahead and put them on here. So I'm going to need our threaded piece here, our through piece here. There we go. 2 throughs. Oh, there we go. Yep. There we go. I guess I'd need another threaded piece to keep going. But there we go. There is our chain. So we're well on the way to doing that. I think that's going to be our part for right now. If you have comments or questions, go ahead and drop them in the comment section, and I will get to them as I'm able. But there you go. There's going to be our first series of parts. So it's going to actually be 2 different parts put together, making aluminum chains. And then I'll let you know when I've got enough of these done that they'll be available. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. I hope you're learning something. Built from Scratch Machine Shop, out.